All right, so now we get into our last piece of text animation stuff. I'm going to jump to After Effects, and we're going to look at a couple different ways to do this type of effect. I'm going to make a new composition, 960 540, 30 frames per second, and 20 seconds is fine. I'll shorten it down later. So with this one, we want to write a word onto the screen. So I'm going to just write my word here. And I will pick a font. Like I said, you want something that's kind of scripty and flowy. It doesn't have to overlap or be anything like insane. And there's also some I've noticed that have this blockiness to them. Make sure you don't get anything that's blocky, because even though it's like not supposed to be there. There we go. All right, so here is this word hello. Now I want to get this word to write the word hello in the screen. Inside here, inside my animate, there's nothing in this that's going to do that, okay? These are, like we talked about last class, more for animating just the characters coming in or moving in. What I really need to do is find a way that I can get this word to like write itself on here, okay? After Effects is not where I'm going to start. I could, but Illustrator is going to be the easiest way to start doing this process. So what I need to do is I need to grab this word, and I need to make it so that Illustrator can send information to After Effects about where to put the lettering, okay? So I'm going to copy this. I don't want to ruin my original one here. There we go. I'm going to make outlines. So under my text, under Create Outlines, there. I'm going to ungroup it. There we go. And then if I grab everything here and I copy it, I basically copied all of the paths. Okay, so that's what this is allowing me to do, is copy the actual paths from here. Then when I go into After Effects, I can make a new document, or a new, I didn't want to make a new comp, a new solid, there we go. And then I can paste those layers right inside here, okay? Now, this is, it looks very similar, but it's not, okay? This creates inside here a mask for every single one of those pieces that I just did. All right, so I'm going to do two different ways. One of these, let me make a new layer, a new solid, and I'll show you the effect first. This is the one that's built into After Effects, and it's called Generate, and it's right on. Okay, and the way this effect works is you have this brush position. When the brush position is animated, it actually like writes a line, okay? So if I wanted to show like something being written, I could do it this way. Just to show you, if I go here and set a keyframe, I come up and I adjust where this position is. I come up and I adjust where this position is. You can see how this is like actually like writing where this is on here, okay? Now what I need to do is I need to take that path information and apply it into this write-on. So I'm going to go to this layer that has all these paths here, and I'm going to go and grab one of the paths. So I'll grab number 1, I'll copy it, I'll come up here, I'll go to my write-on effect, I'll delete the old keyframes, and then paste that. Oops. Sometimes it doesn't like to paste right away. Let's try that again. I'm going to double click it. Sometimes that works. Click this. I'm just going to try to grab the whole thing and just see if that goes all in one. And paste now. Come on, just grab you. Try that again. Sometimes it takes, for whatever reason, it takes a minute for it to actually work. Why aren't you working? That should be there. All right, just for easiness, I'm just going to delete all my paths except for that one, and then grab it again, and then copy. Nope. There it goes. All right, I'm going to click on the path, and then paste the path. There we go. That should work. Okay. So now when I come back here and then I play, you'll see how it writes that letter. Okay. Then I would go down and grab the second one, mask path, copy. If I go after where this keyframe is and I paste it, there we go. Then it'll write the second one right in that same spot. Now notice the difference between the two. One of them is very dotted and the other one is nice and smooth. We can see the entire line. The way that it works is as it's drawing the lines, as it's drawing that effect, the slower it goes, the smoother that line is going to be. The faster it goes, the more dotted it's going to be. So if I look at where the keyframes are, we'll notice a little bit of a difference here where we have the linear keyframe here and here, and then in the middle we have all these little circles. The way that it sets these keyframes is the start key and the end key are set, and all the middle ones are basically just connected to that. So if I want to make this faster or slower, all I do is I take this keyframe at the end of this one and I start pushing it in to make this go faster, or pull it out to make it go slower. Same thing here. I can push this in to make this go faster. Grab these, move them over if I need to, grab this and move this over. Okay. I can also go up here into the options and start specifying my brush spacing. If my brush spacing is lower, I will get less holes. So 0.005 almost closes it. 0.003 does a pretty good job of closing it. Yes. Okay. Okay. Now we can see the obvious issue here with how this is drawing it is that it's actually drawing from A to B. It's like going from this spot here right at the end, right there, and then it glides over and we see the line there and then it starts drawing the next one. Now if we get this closer to it, we might be able to actually get that to not do that. Nope, it's going to do it still. Okay, sometimes you can get it close enough where it doesn't do that. Just going to scoot that over. And then what I'm going to do is set some other keyframes in here. So one of the things I can do is I can paint properties as it goes. So I can say I want to paint the color property. All right. So if I go to the very beginning of this, like that, I'm going to set a keyframe for color. I'm going to go to the very end and I'm going to change the color to, let's say, red. Okay, so what this does is as it's writing out that stroke, the color is changing, and so it's changing the color as it writes the stroke. Okay, it's beautiful. If this is set to none, basically it's just going to shift the color as a whole from white to red. Okay, so you'll see that we have these paint time properties for opacity and for color. The default is set to color. We also have brush time properties for size, hardness, and size and hardness. Okay, so if I wanted to have this little spot in the middle here where I don't see anything being written, that's where I'll use that. I'll go in here and say brush hardness, check. I'll go to the next frame. I'll turn the brush hardness off. I may need to adjust those, that's fine. I'll go up a little bit. All right, we will also do brush size, that. And then I'll go up one, take this down to 0. There we go. And then this is where it starts again, so I will set another keyframe for brush size and brush hardness. And then put this back to 2 and I believe 79. Okay, so now you can see how that one letter gets written. Now I would do the same process for every letter inside this thing. Every path that's inside here, I would do that same process for it. Okay. Now the other thing I could do is instead of having one of these, I could have multiple ones for every single path and then just move it down to exactly where I wanted that to happen. So that's another way that you could do the same kind of effect. So this is one way to do that. Another way we could do it is by using a different effect altogether. So I'm going to, I guess I'll just duplicate this in case I need to come back to it. Come on. And then I'm going to delete the effect on here. Now this one does not come with After Effects. This is a separate tool that you could use called Trapcode Stroke. There it is. Yes. And what this is going to do is it's going to use a mask from another layer to do that. So let me turn this off here. There we go. Just to show you what it starts off with, if I just do basic circle, here's just a basic circle. It's not animated or anything, it's just there. You can control the sizing of it, you can control the feathering of it, and you can play with all these different features. Right now it's set to use all paths. Right now there's no paths on this specific layer. All the paths are on this layer, okay? So let me delete this, duplicate the other one, and then now I'm going to go to Trapcode again. 3D stroke. And then I'm going to set this to thickness 2, and that should be good. Okay. Remember when we did the other one, we had a start and end? Here's start and end. So I pull the end off. I hit keyframe here. I scooch up a bit, and I go to the end. Okay, so now this is doing the exact same thing that the other one did, but obviously it's a lot quicker because it's built into the plugin. Okay, so fancy. We can also tell this to stroke sequentially, meaning do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That way they're all not happening at the same time. So I click that button. I didn't click it. There we go. Come on. And then I rewind. And now you can see it writing that out. Beautiful. Okay. Now, this effect can also be added on top of other things. So I could actually have my actual full-blown laid out text in full color in the background like this, and have this kind of like fading on as this text is being written as well. Okay, so I'm going to leave this one off for a second. This is my Trapcode right. This is my AE right. And then this is just my text. Okay, so now this gives us the obviously the outline of all of our stuff here. This one, I'm going to show how we can actually write the entire word on there. So I'm going to go to this layer here, and I'm going to go to a new solid on top of it. Yes, no, sorry, not a new solid. I'm going to go to just my pen tool. I'm going to click off, and I'm basically just going to write the text here. So I'm just outlining this letter there. Let me take the fill off so I can see what I'm doing, and I will take the stroke up. There we go. And I'm writing this in the same direction I would want this to be written. So I'm starting off at the top and then kind of following it down. Again, I would do the whole thing. For now, I'm just going to do the one letter. All right. Now what I need to do is I need to have, oops, don't close that. Don't. There we go. I need to have this entire stroke be thicker than this whole line here, okay? So I'm going to go into the stroke thickness and make this really thick. I'm also going to take my cap here, instead of being squared off, I'm going to go to my stroke, not there. I'm going to go to my stroke down here. Stroke, and tell the caps to be rounded. There we go. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a combination of my write-on effect with a track mat. Okay. So I'm going to take this, drop it on top of my text, switch this over, and tell the text layer that I want you to be a track mat. There we go. And now I'm going to go to my text up here. I'm going to go to my, close that, go to my add, and go to trim path. Now, because this is a trim path on top of it, as the trim path writes itself, it will then reveal the letter underneath it. That's the idea with this. So I'm going to go and click on the end, and you'll see how it writes itself. Now you can obviously see the big issue with doing it like this is that we have this kind of break in the middle where the letter is obviously shown right there, right? So sometimes you will actually have separate paths, separate shapes for each one of these. In Illustrator, let me hide my original. I took my original text and I outlined it just like I did here. And I got that. There's my outlines. I ungrouped all the outlines, and then I started to cut all the outlines so that they were all separated. Let me slide this back up here. So I have basically like this piece is one piece. This piece is another piece. That way I can write on each one of those effects separately so I don't get that weird overlapping thing, okay? So I'm going to go to the outline here just so you can see how I did that. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Yep, you specify where you want that to happen, okay? And the idea with it is to think about, as it's writing, where is it going to start overlapping? That's the area that needs to be broken off, okay? So it has to be, like in this one, this little swoop here, as I'm thinking about it, it should be able to continue all the way up here-ish, around here somewhere, and then I'm going to cut it there, and then this will be a second part, okay? So I'm going to use my line, and I'm just going to say, okay, I'm going to cut it here, and I also need to cut this right here, and I need to cut this right there. Okay, now I'm not too concerned about getting it exactly at that line because I'm going to tweak it and make sure it blends nicely with the rest of it. So I'm going to grab the whole thing. I'm going to go to my Pathfinder and say divide. And what this will do is wherever I have those lines cutting through it, it will divide that into separate shapes. Now it's all divided, but it's all grouped still, so I'll ungroup it. And then now I should be able to grab the individual pieces and then do what I want with those, okay? So these two pieces, I want those to be together. As it writes, if those aren't together, it'll write, it'll skip a part and then write the rest of it. I want that to flow into the next one. So I'm going to double click. Nope, I always do that. I'm going to group first. There we go. Then double click. And now those are together by themselves. I don't have to worry about messing up the other stuff. And I'm just going to connect these. I'm going to delete this edge right there. I'm going to delete this edge. And then I'm just going to connect these here and then blend that into how I want that to flow. Same thing with this one. Okay. Make sure it looks pleasant enough. It does. Cool. Go back to my outlines. Go back to this piece. That piece should actually be pretty good, except I need to just tweak what these sides are going to be doing. This isn't a huge deal where those are. It's not going to be shown at all. The other lines are already covering it, but I just like it to be nice and neat, so I'm going to just clean it up a little bit. I'm going to go to my pen tool and just subtract these points here, and then just straighten this out. So I'm just using my Alt key just to move those points. Same thing here, close that, close that. There we go. All right, so there's my one letter. Now again, I would do this to the entire thing first before I bring this all into After Effects. All right, so now I have my paths. Let's turn this on, oops. All right, so this is my word all cut up. Okay, you'll see I even broke this letter up into different pieces because as it writes, I imagine that it'll write this part here as one, then it'll write that part, then it'll write this part, and then it'll write the E. I think I might be able to do all that in one. Same thing here. And then the T has been broken up into a couple. Once I have this, to bring this all into After Effects, I grabbed all my pieces. Oops. I grabbed all the pieces like this, and then I went to Release to Layers Sequence. So in the past assignment, you've clicked a bunch of layers, drug all the layers individually. This automatically makes each one of these sub-layers into its own layer. And it does it just like this. And then I can take all of these and drag this out. Now they're all individual layers. And then I'm just going to delete this stuff I don't need. That was just for demonstration. I'll put that right in place. And then obviously you want to name your stuff so that you don't get lost. That's nothing, right? Nothing. Now let's find nothing also. This is our T, this is the E, this is the E. All right, so I'm going to save this and bring this into my After Effects program. Sweet, cut. Make sure that the Adobe PDF stuff is clicked, which it is. Back to After Effects. Okay. Now let's take this off. And we're going to delete that part, and I'm just going to bring it in fresh and do that part again. Text animation, artwork, sweet cut. Okay. I want to make sure composition retain layer size is clicked. I hit import. And then I'm just going to open that up. We can't see it because of the background is black and the text is black, so we'll just give that a color. There we go, beautiful. And I'm just going to bring my other stuff into here. Oh, I don't have anything else right now. I'll get that later. Okay. So I'm going to go to my letters and just reorganize this a second. There we go. And then let's do this again. Okay, so the S1. This is very compartmentalized. I just do each piece at a time. So I want S1 to happen. So I'm going to go to here, and I'm just going to write out that one piece. That can come down now because it doesn't need to be as big. There we go. And it doesn't matter how many points you have here, as long as you have a nice smooth transition from one spot to the next, it should be good. Now you can do this a number of ways. You can do each piece all on its own. So I can go in here and do this whole S as I would write it, come back later and change the settings for each one. Or I can just, do them like this, like one piece at a time, okay? I like to do them all as one. Come on. There we go. So just give make that a bit thicker. Do the same thing with the ends here. Stroke, rounded. Okay, because they're on separate layers, we shouldn't get any weird like overlap because it's all part of their own thing. As this one writes this, it's not going to write anything in the middle because the middle isn't there yet. Okay, and I could even take this from, I don't need to, I'm just going to go to the next one. All right, so there will be the next one. Click off. Here will be the next one. Okay, this one might need to come down and scale a little bit just because that is touching. Here will be the next one. And if it's something that happens quick, then you don't really need to be too concerned about it. The idea is to make it look like it's flowing, make it look like it's writing. If you picked an area where there's just like a hair of something and then it gets written over again, like if you had a T that goes like this and then comes back down, but the T happens very quick, sometimes you don't need to cut those. Obviously in this case, it looked very obvious when the S didn't work. Oops. And then this goes here. Now instead of me using the write-on effect, or the trim path, oops, I could also have used that other one too. I could have used the which one? I lost it. Trap code, thank you. There we go. Sweet. Okay, so there's my shape layer. I'm going to go to my add. I'm going to go to trim path and double check that it works. So we get a very similar result to what Trapcode did. And if I change my simultaneously to individually, again, we get that, you know, very similar look to it. Okay, so now I'm just going to set it up so that it works. Start here, go to, let's just say 14 seconds, and then say 0. There are some spots that need to be adjusted. You can see the black's kind of poking through. I'll come back later and tweak that. I just want to get the gist of this down, and then I'll move on to that. So here's this. And that's definitely writing backwards, right? Yeah. Yes, it is. Why are you writing backwards? Because I did the start. Trim bias, yes, yes, yes. All right, let's go here and reorder these. Oh, that's right. Never mind. Never mind. It's fine that it's doing that because we're just going to have this do the opposite of what it was doing. So before we did an alpha matte, we're just going to do alpha inverted. That way as it disappears, it'll show up. Okay. Cool. Now remember too, we can do this right here where we just say alpha track matte or alpha inverted. There we go. And then as it writes that, I have to reanimate this again because I turned that off. Keyframe here, keyframe there. All right, ignore the rest of them. We're just kind of looking at this right now. So you can see how it's writing just that one piece. It's going to come across where that issue was. What? Hold the phones. S1. You are perfectly lined up. Why aren't you writing correctly? You're messing with me. That's what's going on. All right, let's see. Let's turn this on again here. So it comes in here. Oh, that's why, right? Because the other one's still there, so it's making it there. That's not going to work then, is it? Alphamat. Okay, why aren't you writing the way I wanted you to write? Let's reset this to 0, set this to 100. I should have written the exact way that I put it. Like that. That's how it should be writing, but it's writing it backwards. Why are you writing backwards? Path. There we go. So something in my options must have been clicked where I had it on the wrong direction, so I'm just reversing the direction on that. That'll work. Okay. Weird. Okay. Oops. 100 will stay here. 0 will go back there. Oh my God. Okay. That's good. Is it doing it again? It literally just worked a second ago, right? Like don't think I'm crazy. Put that back to where it was. There it goes. See, now it's writing the correct way again. So weird. My After Effects just has gremlins in it today, so just that's right. Yes. Okay. So that's good. That's good. That's good. See, now everything's writing the correct way. They are. It's very odd. Whatever. As long as it works now. All right. So now this should be Alphamat. This is writing the correct way, the way I wrote it. And now if I turn the eyeball off on this and we hit play, then we get a nice little swoop. Cool. Okay. I didn't know what my point was because I got that. Oh, right. So we did this last time where we did the Alphamat, or we did this before. But then for every one of these, I would have to duplicate that layer and do a track map for each one. Remember that I can turn that off, and then I can go up to my channels and say set mat, and then specify that I want, oops, make sure I'm on the right layer, this one. Set mat, and then make sure I specify shape layer 1. Make sure I specify that I want to use the alpha channel, and then make sure it works. Right now it's not working. Let's turn this on. There we go. Oh, we have to click this on and then click the eyeball. There we go. Not the eyeball, but the little star. All right, so now that works perfect. So now I can just take this and copy it, and then just paste this onto each one of my letters. And it'll automatically have those same settings. And so now when I rewind and hit play, oh, don't forget to click that. There we go. Okay, now it still is doing the overlapping. We just have to now offset each one of these pieces of text so they don't appear until they're ready to be appeared. So this one writes here, like that, and then this one should come down to about there. definitely off too, right? Off. It's not having fun. All right. Let's just do this then. We will delete that effect from each one of these. We will do each one manually. That's what it wants us to do. All right, so this one, alpha matte to this. Perfect. I don't need that anymore. All right, so that one works. Boom. And then I will duplicate this and put it down for number 2. And then that will be alpha matted as well. And then I'm just going to go into this shape here. And I do need to remove some of that piece. So if I just delete shape number, not shape 1, that's all of it. If I just delete these, come on, pen tool, yes. Control click, control click, control click, control click. There we go. And then I can delete the rest of those. And now we just have shape 1. And then I can scoot that back. There we go. Okay, so that's nice and neat for that one. And I turn the eyeball off. I make sure this is on alpha. Make sure this is on here. Okay, so now they both write at the same time, and then I can just offset each one of these. And it's just a matter of timing out so that as one gets written here, the next one gets written right there. Very good. All right, I thought I'd be able to get away with doing the one, but apparently not. I have to do individual ones for each one. Very nice. Okay. Yep, that's good. Now I'm going to jump into this one. I'm going to grab the trap code layer, paste this in here, and then just scoot this up. That goes there. This goes on. And I will just grab the position and just scoot this over, scoot this up. So this is not a requirement of this part having the line on there. You just have to make it right. Or you can see how I can add this line stroke on top of this, and it adds this kind of like neat effect to it. And then obviously those things should be kind of synced up so that they flow together nicely. These two here, this needs to be adjusted. So I'm going to go to this. I'm just going to delete this keyframe at the end. That flows nice. Yes, almost. This has to be just adjusted just a little bit more. So a little bit of a slowing down. I got to speed that up. $20, $15, $14, $13. There it is, 13.5. Good. Okay, so now this will happen about here. There we go. Okay, so now I can take these two layers and scoot this down to here, scoot this down to here, and then all this should happen a lot quicker. And then I'll probably take this opacity to like 20%. So the outline part is just an extra thing. You can do just the outline, you can do just the write on, whichever one you want to do. I just want to see that you can write something on here, have it right into the screen. And obviously the simpler your letter is, the simpler your font is, the easier it's going to be to get this to do what you want it to do. If you pick a word even that isn't overlapping a whole lot, it's a lot easier to do. If you wrote the word Jill, J-I-L-L, there's very little overlap, if any, on that letter. If you just kind of have like these scripty kind of letters or curvy kind of letters, you don't need to worry too much about that. There we go. Okay, then I would do the same effects that we talked about before. It doesn't necessarily need like a shadow on here, but you probably want to have some sort of finishing, some sort of gradation to the background or colors or, you know, that kind of thing. This beam plugin, I can take the length up to 100. There it is. And you see it says a starting point and an ending point. If I go into this, I copy the mask path, I go to this beam's starting point. Let's rewind this. And I paste that mask there. That beam will actually follow that path. And then I can squeeze it so that it follows it a lot closer. Not sure why it's so far off. But just pretend that that's the only thing on the screen. There we go. Okay, and then if I make the ending thickness bigger, and then I put this kind of down here, okay, you get the illusion that it's actually like writing the word beam. Times 50, like I said, After Effects has some demons in it today, apparently. But then I could also do this, which is I could add another solid, and then I could add, this is stuff that got people jobs, by the way, back in the day. Particle Playground, you'll see that this one also has a starting position. I'm going to rewind this, I'm going to hit the position, and then I will paste those same keyframes there, squish this down, and then now those are aligned, so that, well, we stretch these two out so that it's a lot more obvious what's happening. So now it looks like the particles are like part of the spark or the thing hitting it. It was a lot cooler. It was actually like a several week project that we would do these kinds of things for. Right. That's where they stole it from us. That's how they got the jobs, right?